I was Freddie, 38 years old, with what I thought was a perfect family. My wife Amanda and I had been married for 17 years, raising our son Trevor, now 16. Our golden retriever Buddy completed our family, bringing us joy for 5 years. We lived in a suburban home surrounded by friendly neighbors and what seemed like unconditional love. Recently, though, I noticed something disturbing about Buddy. He would cower whenever Trevor entered the room. I dismissed it at first, but deep down I knew something was wrong. Let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like and subscribe button, and stay with me as I share how my perfect life completely fell apart. Life before everything fell apart was what most would consider the American dream. Amanda and I met in college, fell in love, and married after graduation. I secured a position at TechVision, a growing technology company where I eventually became senior project manager. Amanda taught third grade at the local elementary school, a job she was passionate about. Trevor was our only child, born after 3 years of marriage. We adored him, perhaps, spoiling him more than we should have. He was a bright kid, excelled in school, and showed promise in baseball during his early teen years. Everyone commented on what a polite, well-mannered boy we had raised. Buddy joined our family when Trevor turned 11. We adopted him from the local shelter, a beautiful 2-year-old golden retriever with soulful eyes and a gentle temperament. The bond between Trevor and Buddy was immediate and strong. They were inseparable, playing fetch in our backyard, or curling up together to watch movies. Our home in Springfield was comfortable with 4 bedrooms and a large fenced yard. We hosted barbecues and summer holiday parties in winter. Our neighbors, the Johnsons and the Wilsons, were also close friends. We vacationed together in Florida or California each year. Life was comfortable, predictable, and happy. Or so I thought. My relationship with Trevor began to change when he entered high school. The close father-son bond we shared seemed to weaken as he became more interested in his friends and his online life. I told myself this was normal teenage behavior, that all fathers and sons went through this phase. Amanda assured me it was just part of growing up. The first real sign that something was wrong came about 6 months ago. I noticed Buddy acting strangely. The normally exuberant dog would flatten his ears and tuck his tail whenever Trevor came near. If Trevor entered a room where Buddy was resting, the dog would immediately get up and leave. When Trevor would call him, Buddy would reluctantly approach, his body language showing clear signs of fear. I mentioned this to Amanda one night after Trevor had gone to bed. We were sitting on the couch watching a movie when I brought it up. "Have you noticed Buddy acting weird around Trevor lately?" I asked. Amanda glanced up from her phone. "What do you mean? He seems afraid of him. Like he does not want to be alone with him." She laughed lightly. "You are imagining things, Freddie. They are as close as ever." But I knew what I had seen, and it worried me. Around the same time, I noticed other changes in Trevor. He quit the baseball team, saying he had lost interest. He spent more time in his room, door locked, claiming he was studying or playing games with online friends. His grades remained good, so we did not push too hard, but something felt off. One day while Trevor was at school, I used his computer to print some documents for work when my printer malfunctioned. What I found in his search history disturbed me deeply. There were searches about animal behavior, specifically how animals respond to abuse. There were also visits to websites with concerning content involving animals. I felt sick to my stomach, but tried to convince myself there must be an innocent explanation. Perhaps a school project on animal welfare. 2 weeks later, I found out the terrible truth. I came home early from work with a migraine, planning to take some medication and lie down in our bedroom. The house was supposed to be empty. Amanda was teaching, Trevor should have been at school, and Buddy was usually in his crate when no one was home. As I entered, I heard strange noises coming from Trevor's bedroom. Thinking we might have an intruder, I quietly moved toward his room. The door was slightly ajar. What I saw through that crack shattered my world. Trevor was there with Buddy. Our son was sexually abusing our dog. I pushed the door open with enough force that it slammed against the wall. Trevor jumped back, his face a mask of shock and shame. Buddy bolted past me, whimpering as he ran to hide somewhere in the house. "Dad," Trevor gasped, scrambling to adjust his clothing. "I thought you were at work." The look on my face must have told him that I had seen everything. He broke down in tears, begging me not to tell his mother, not to call the police. "Please, Dad," he sobbed. "It would ruin my life." "I will stop, I promise. I will get help." I stood frozen, my mind unable to fully process what I had witnessed. This was my son, my little boy. How had this happened? Where had I gone wrong as a father? When I finally found my voice, it was surprisingly calm. How long has this been going on, Trevor? He could not meet my eyes. A few months, he admitted. Why, it was all I could ask. Trevor told me about websites he had discovered, videos he had watched. He claimed it started with curiosity, then became an obsession he could not control. He swore he knew it was wrong, that he had tried to stop many times. I faced an impossible choice. Should I report my own son to authorities? Would he be labeled a sex offender before he was even an adult? Or should I try to handle this privately, get him the help he needed without destroying his future? After hours of agonizing, I made my decision. I would not tell Amanda or the authorities, but there would be conditions. Trevor would start seeing a therapist immediately. He would have no unsupervised access to Buddy, and he would install monitoring software on all his devices. This is your one chance, I told him firmly. If I ever suspect this is happening again, I will not protect you. Trevor agreed to everything, his relief palpable. I spent that night researching therapists who specialized in adolescent sexual behavior issues, eventually finding Dr. Marisa Garcia, who had experience with similar cases. I called first thing in the morning and scheduled an appointment for the following week. I also rearranged our home to ensure Buddy would be safe. I moved his crate into our bedroom and took over walking and feeding him. If Amanda noticed, she did not comment, likely assuming I was just trying to help out more with pet duties. That night, I sat alone in our backyard after everyone had gone to bed. I watched the stars and questioned every parenting decision I had ever made. Had I been too lenient, too strict? Had I missed warning signs? The weight of my secret felt crushing, but I believed I was doing what was best for everyone. I had no idea that my compassion would soon be used against me in the most devastating way. 3 days after I discovered Trevor's actions, I returned from walking Buddy to find Amanda sitting at our kitchen table, her face streaked with tears. Trevor sat beside her, his expression a mixture of fear and something else I could not immediately identify. Triumph, perhaps. What is going on? I asked, unclipping Buddy's leash. The dog immediately retreated to the corner of the kitchen, as far from Trevor as possible. Amanda looked up at me, her eyes filled with disgust and horror. How could you? Freddie, our dog, our family pet. For a moment I did not understand what she was saying. Then it hit me with the force of a physical blow. Trevor had turned the accusation around on me. What are you talking about? I asked, my voice shaking. Trevor told me everything, Amanda spat. About catching you with Buddy. About how you threatened him to keep quiet. I looked at Trevor, who was now staring at the floor, occasionally letting out a convincing sob. That is not true, I said firmly. Amanda, you have to listen to me. But she was already standing, placing herself between me and Trevor protectively. I have all the proof I need, she said, holding up her phone. On it was a video clearly edited from home security footage we had installed years ago. It showed me alone with Buddy in the living room, but it had been manipulated to suggest something inappropriate was happening just out of frame. Trevor showed me your messages too, she continued. The ones where you threatened him if he told anyone. I felt dizzy with disbelief. Those are fake. Amanda, you know me. You know I would never do something like this. But she was beyond listening. 17 years of marriage, and she had accepted these accusations without even questioning them. I am taking Trevor and Buddy to my parents' house, she declared. Do not try to follow us. Do not call. My lawyer will be in touch. I watched helplessly as she and Trevor packed overnight bags. Buddy was let out on his leash, looking back at me with what I swear was confusion and sadness. The door closed behind them with a finality that shook me to my core. Within hours, Amanda's family knew. Her father called to threaten me. Her brother posted vague but damning references on social media about monsters living among us. By the next day, most of our friends had heard some version of the accusation. The Johnsons, our neighbors for 10 years, stopped waving when they saw me. The Wilsons crossed the street to avoid walking past our house. Parents at Trevor's school, many of whom were also Amanda's colleagues, gave interviews to local news about how you never really know someone. A week after Amanda and Trevor left, I received an email from my company's HR department requesting a meeting. Despite my exemplary performance record, TechVision terminated my employment. They cited concerns about the company's reputation and a morality clause in my contract. No one asked for my side of the story. The day I received divorce papers was the same day I found a notice taped to my front door. Amanda had been granted a temporary restraining order prohibiting me from coming within 500 feet of her Trevor or Buddy. The papers cited credible accusations of animal abuse and threats against a minor. I hired a lawyer, Daniel Peterson, who specialized in family law. He was the third attorney I contacted, the only one willing to take my case. The first two had declined after hearing the nature of the accusations. "I believe you," Daniel told me during our initial consultation. "But you need to understand that these kinds of allegations, even without proof, can destroy lives. We are fighting an uphill battle." He was right. The judge assigned to our case seemed predisposed to believe Amanda's side. I was denied all visitation with Trevor, pending a full investigation. My requests for independent evaluation of Buddy by an animal behavioral specialist were rejected. I tried to contact Dr. Garcia, the therapist I had researched for Trevor, hoping she might have records of my call or appointment request. But patient confidentiality prevented her from confirming or denying any contact, even though Trevor had never actually seen her. My finances were quickly depleting. Without income, with mounting legal bills, and with Amanda freezing our joint accounts, I was forced to sell my car and move out of our home into a small one-bedroom apartment in a less desirable part of town. The isolation was perhaps the worst part. Friends I had known for years stopped returning my calls. My parents, both deceased, could not offer support. My only sibling, a sister living in Australia, sent money when she could, but was too far away to help in any meaningful way. I started drinking to numb the pain. Not heavily at first, just a beer or two in the evening. But soon I was opening a bottle as soon as I woke up. The alcohol helped dull the constant anxiety, the feeling of helplessness, the crushing sense of injustice. My apartment became a reflection of my mental state. Unwashed dishes piled in the sink. Takeout containers cluttered every surface. Mail remained unopened. I slept on the couch because I could not summon the energy to make the bed. 3 months after the initial accusation, I hit rock bottom. I had not eaten in 2 days. I had not showered in longer. My lawyer had left 3 voicemails about upcoming court dates, none of which I had returned. That night I found myself standing on the balcony of my apartment 6 floors up, contemplating the final step. What did I have left to live for? My family was gone. My career was over. My reputation was destroyed. Even if I somehow proved my innocence, the stain of the accusation would never fully wash away. As I leaned against the railing, my phone buzzed with a notification. It was a memory from my photo app. A picture taken 1 year earlier. Buddy and I at the lake, his golden fur wet and shining in the sunlight, his mouth open in what looked like a happy dog smile. I was kneeling beside him, one arm around his shoulders, laughing at the camera. The sight of Buddy, innocent and loving, jolted me back to reality. He was still out there, possibly, still suffering. And Trevor, despite what he had done, was still my son, a troubled young man who needed help. If I gave up now, who would fight for the truth? I stepped back from the railing, went inside, and poured every drop of alcohol I had down the drain. The next morning I called my lawyer and told him I was ready to fight. My transformation did not happen overnight, but that moment on the balcony marked a turning point. I stopped drinking completely. I began exercising daily, just basic push-ups and sit-ups in my apartment at first, then jogging around the neighborhood. I applied for any job I could find, eventually securing a position as a night clerk at a hotel. The pay was minimal, but it gave me structure and purpose. Most importantly, I began methodically building my case. I could not afford a private investigator, but I could do some of that work myself. I bought a prepaid phone and reached out to one of Trevor's former baseball teammates, Kyle Watson. Kyle had always been a good kid, and his parents had not completely bought into the rumors about me. "Trevor has been acting weird for months," Kyle told me when we met at a coffee shop across town. "He was showing some of the guys these websites. Sick stuff with animals. We all thought it was messed up. That is why most of us stopped hanging out with him. This was valuable information, but it was not enough. I needed more concrete evidence. Through Daniel, my attorney, I hired a forensic computer expert to analyze the edited video Amanda had shown. The expert confirmed it had been manipulated with footage from different days spliced together. I also contacted Diane Powell, a veterinarian who specialized in animal behavior and abuse cases. Though she could not examine Buddy directly, she agreed to review any documentation I could provide. "Animals that have been sexually abused show specific behavioral signs," she explained. "The fear response you described the avoidance of a particular person, those are consistent with abuse. But without examining the dog, I cannot make a definitive statement. I felt like I was building a case on quicksand, gathering pieces that pointed to the truth, but nothing solid enough to counter the narrative Trevor had created and Amanda had embraced. Then, 6 months after Amanda and Trevor left, everything changed in an instant. I received a frantic call from Daniel on a Tuesday afternoon. "Freddie, there has been an incident. Trevor is in the hospital. Buddy attacked him." My heart raced as he shared the details. Trevor had been alone with Buddy when the dog suddenly became aggressive, biting him severely on the arm and groin. Amanda had come home to find Trevor bleeding and Buddy barking frantically. Trevor had been taken to Memorial Hospital. Buddy had been seized by animal control and was being held for observation to rule out rabies, despite having current vaccinations. "This could be our opportunity," Daniel said. "I have already filed an emergency motion with the court requesting that Buddy be examined by an independent veterinarian specifically for signs of sexual abuse." The judge, perhaps shaken by the violent incident, granted our motion. Diane Powell was approved to examine Buddy alongside the county's veterinarian. Her findings were unequivocal. Buddy showed physical signs consistent with ongoing sexual abuse. The timeline matched exactly what I had claimed, not the story Trevor had told. While Trevor was still in the hospital, a social worker had been assigned to his case, as is standard procedure, when a minor is involved in an animal attack. Something about Trevor's behavior or responses must have raised red flags because the social worker requested a private session with him. In that session, facing potential criminal charges for filing a false report and increasingly cornered by the evidence, Trevor broke down. He admitted everything. How he had been abusing Buddy for months, how I had caught him and tried to get him help, how he had fabricated the accusations against me, manipulated evidence, and convinced his mother I was the abuser. Amanda was present for this confession. Daniel later told me she had to be sedated after hearing the truth. The following week was a blur of legal activity. The restraining order was immediately lifted. The divorce proceedings were paused. The court formally acknowledged my innocence. My former employer sent a letter expressing regret over my termination, offering reinstatement with back pay. And then after nearly 7 months of separation, I saw Buddy again. He was being kept at a special animal rehabilitation facility, receiving care from professionals experienced in treating abused animals. When I walked into the room, his reaction brought tears to my eyes. He recognized me instantly, racing across the room, whimpering and pressing against my legs, his whole body wiggling with joy. "He remembers you," said the caretaker, smiling. "This is the most excited we have seen him since he arrived." I knelt down, allowing Buddy to lick my face as I gently stroked his golden fur. "I missed you too, Buddy," I whispered. "I am going to take you home soon." 2 days later, Amanda requested to meet. We sat at a neutral location, a conference room in Daniel's office building. She looked terrible, with dark circles under her eyes, and a gauntness to her face that spoke of many sleepless nights. "I am so sorry, Freddie," she began, her voice breaking. "I should have trusted you. I should have questioned Trevor's story. I should have known you would never do something so horrible." She explained that she had been blind to the truth because the alternative was too painful to consider. It had been easier to believe I was the monster than to accept that our son needed serious help. "I want us to try again," she said, reaching for my hand across the table. "We can get through this together. Trevor is starting intensive therapy. We can be a family again." I looked at her hand, but did not take it. For 7 months she had believed the worst about me. She had turned family and friends against me. She had robbed me of my reputation, my career, my home. And most unforgivably, she had separated me from Buddy when he needed protection the most. "I cannot do that, Amanda," I said quietly. "Too much has happened. The trust is gone. Please," she begged. 17 years of marriage. Do not throw that away. You threw it away. I replied, "The moment you decided I was guilty without even hearing my side." I continued with the divorce proceedings. The court granted me full custody of Buddy, with no visitation rights for Trevor. Amanda received the house but was ordered to pay me a significant settlement for defamation and emotional distress. As for Trevor, I did not press criminal charges. He was 16, still legally a child. Instead, I insisted on mandatory residential treatment at a facility specializing in juvenile sexual offenders. I would continue to financially support his treatment, but I could not bring myself to see him, not yet. My former company's offer of reinstatement came with a promotion and a public apology, but I declined. Instead, I accepted a position with a smaller tech firm in Seattle, over 2,000 miles away from Springfield and all the painful memories there. The year that followed brought healing, though not without continuing struggles. Buddy and I moved to Seattle, settling into a house with a large fenced yard near a dog park. The change of scenery helped both of us start fresh. Buddy required ongoing care. The trauma he had experienced left emotional scars. He was skittish around teenage boys and would sometimes have episodes where he would hide under furniture, shaking with fear. A veterinary behaviorist worked with us weekly, teaching me techniques to help Buddy feel secure again. I focused on rebuilding my life one day at a time. My new job kept me busy during weekdays. On weekends, Buddy and I explored the Pacific Northwest hiking trails and visiting dog-friendly beaches. These outings seemed to help him as much as they helped me. I joined a support group for people who had been falsely accused of crimes. Hearing others' stories reminded me I was not alone. Many had lost even more than I had. Some had spent years in prison before being exonerated. Their resilience inspired me to keep moving forward. I also volunteered at a local animal rescue, helping rehabilitate dogs that had suffered abuse. Working with these animals gave purpose to my pain. Each success story, each dog placed in a loving home, helped heal a small part of the wound in my heart. 6 months after our move, I received an email from Amanda. She updated me on Trevor's progress in treatment. His therapist reported he was actively participating in programs and showing genuine remorse. She attached a letter Trevor had written to me, but I saved it without reading. I was not ready. Amanda had respected the boundaries I set. She did not ask to reconcile again, did not plead for another chance. She simply provided information she thought I should have and expressed continued regret for her role in what happened. 3 months later, I finally opened Trevor's letter. It was a painful read. He acknowledged the full extent of his actions, the damage he had caused to Buddy, to me, to our family. He did not make excuses or ask for forgiveness. He simply wanted me to know he understood the gravity of what he had done and was committed to never harming another living being again. After consulting with my own therapist, I agreed to a video call with Trevor, supervised by his treatment team. Seeing his face again was harder than I had anticipated. He looked both older and younger somehow, the cockiness of adolescence replaced by a sobered maturity beyond his years. "I am sorry, Dad," he said simply. "I know that does not fix anything, but I am sorry." "I know," I replied. It was all I could offer for now. We established a cautious line of communication after that. Monthly video calls, always supervised. I made it clear that he would never be allowed unsupervised contact with Buddy again, a condition he accepted without protest. Amanda and I finalized our divorce, but maintained civil communication regarding Trevor's treatment. She remained in Springfield, continuing to teach, facing her own social consequences once the truth became widely known. Many of those who had shunned me now avoided her. The pendulum of public opinion had swung with cruel efficiency. As for me, I gradually built a new social circle in Seattle. People who knew me only as I was, not as I had been falsely portrayed. I dated occasionally, though I approached new relationships with understandable caution. Buddy thrived in our new environment. His episodes of anxiety became less frequent. He gained weight, his coat regained its luster, and most importantly, the joy returned to his eyes. Sometimes watching him race along the shoreline or play with other dogs at the park, it seemed impossible that he had endured such trauma. Yet we both carried scars, visible and invisible. I still woke from nightmares where I was falling from that 6th-floor balcony. Buddy still had days when a sudden movement or sound would trigger his fear response. But we were healing day by day, together. The most profound lesson I learned through this ordeal was about trust, both its fragility and its necessity. Amanda had trusted our son over her husband of 17 years with devastating consequences. I had trusted that the truth would be enough to protect me, a naive belief in a world where accusations often outweigh facts. Yet, without trust, life becomes impossible to navigate. The key is learning who deserves that trust, who has earned it through their actions rather than their words. Buddy had earned my trust completely. He had never wavered in his loyalty even when suffering. Some humans could learn from his example. I also learned about the danger of hasty judgment. How easily people turn on someone based on an accusation alone. How quickly 17 years of good character can be erased by a single horrific claim. Many who condemned me never apologized, never acknowledged their rush to judgment. Their silence spoke volumes about human nature. But perhaps the most important lesson was about resilience, about finding strength when it seems everything has been taken, about rebuilding when all seems lost. Buddy and I both survived what happened to us. More than survived, we found a way to thrive again. For those facing similar injustices, similar darkest hours, I can only offer this. Hold on. The night eventually ends. Dawn comes even when it seems impossible. And sometimes what awaits on the other side is a life different than planned but still worth living. Have you ever faced a betrayal that completely changed your life? How did you find the strength to move forward? Share your story in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share to help others who might be facing their own battles with false accusations or broken trust. Thank you for listening. And remember that even in our darkest moments, healing is possible.